Welcome. You're watching Channel 9 in Fairfield. I'm Susan Kessel, and we have with us Mark McWhorter. Hello.
Hi. How are you?
Mark is exhibiting for the Fairfield Art Association exhibit. We're starting our new season. We're at Democratic Design, and your show is up for 2 weeks. Mark is from Ottumwa, and how long have you lived in Ottumwa?
I've been in Ottumwa since 1980.
Wow. I've known Mark a long time, and you are associated with Indian Hills?
Yes, I am. I'm the lead instructor in the art department there.
Mark is well known for his pottery and his paintings.
Yes, remember the paintings. Everybody always remembers the pottery, but they tend to forget that I also paint.
Wonderful paintings in a variety of media.
I think of them as all related, but yes, I suppose so. Acrylic, watercolor, a little bit of colored pencil.
So some of you out there might have taken classes from Mark in Ottumwa, or had your children take classes. You see a lot of Fairfield people?
Oh yeah, quite a few.
Yeah. So we're at Democratic Design. The Fairfield Art Association is beginning its 39th season. This is our opening exhibit, and we're happy to have you here. And we have here on this table a wonderful selection of your pottery. Let's talk about this.
Well, my pottery, the shapes and colors come from a variety of sources. Somebody was in a little while ago and said that they could see the Chinese influence, which is there, but there's also a lot of influence from the Middle Ages in Europe, and a little bit of my own. But it's a very eclectic set of influences.
I think they're very strong design pieces, and you can tell that you really know how to handle the material. A lot of are thrown on the wheel.
A lot of it is hand thrown. Some of it is combining thrown work with what potters call hand building, things that aren't thrown. And a few pieces are entirely hand built. And
for example, this one here, and boy, I don't have my glasses on. Does this have a title?
I just named the series the Gothic Series, so each one is part of the Gothic Series. And actually, there should be several of these here in Fairfield, because I've had a couple people in Fairfield that buy these.
If you can, you might want to zoom in on these little gargoyle-y looking things. Those are really neat. I love those. And that is a hand-built slab kind of piece?
Yeah, that's slab-built. And yes, it has little gargoyles and little church windows. People have asked me if that's a bat house or a butterfly house, and the first time somebody asked me, I'd never heard of one. So to me, it's just a sculpture.
It is. It's wonderful. Wonderful colors. Your color palette is kind of limited. I've always known you to do a lot of blue and white.
Well, I can do other colors, but I've always preferred blue and white. So, but I think in this group of works, I have a few other colors apparent. I have a new green glaze that is present in this show that I've been using some.
Now, is that pale green glaze?
Yes, it's kind of a Celadon.
I like that a lot. So, we want to invite you to come to Democratic Design. Today is October 1st, and we'll be here for 2 weeks during business hours on the west side of the square. You can check out Mark McWhorter's work, and we're going to go around and look at some of his paintings also. Tell us about the first picture that we're looking at.
Oh, the first piece is a little snow scene, and that's colored pencil. And it's actually a field just east of Centerville. And just stopped by there driving home from Centerville once and sketched it.
Oh, it's beautiful. It looks like from here, very fine detail, and with pencil too. That's nice. Next to it, I'm going to guess from this distance that it's a watercolor.
Yes, that's a watercolor. And that's based on something I saw at North Myrtle Beach. We vacation there in the summers. So in this exhibit, there's several pieces from the Carolina coast.
I remember your wife is from there, is that right?
Well, no, we're both from Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky. Well, I knew it was somewhere because she has an accent.
Yes.
Now, do you work from photos or on location?
I do take photos. Many times I take videotape, but I also sketch. And I find my sketches are a lot more valuable than my photographs.
Now, let's move to the third piece. And this one is a heavier paint. So what is this?
Well, this one's acrylic.
Acrylic.
And there's several of these, and they're based on backpacking trips in Wyoming.
So you backpack?
Oh yes.
Do you take your supplies with you?
Oh yes. Everything's on your back. So I don't paint up there. I just sketch, and I also take a camera. But again, my sketches are generally more valuable than the photographs. Mm-hmm. And but I have a blast. That's kind of my mania. It's backpacking.
Okay. Okay, we're moving on to another acrylic, I assume.
Yes, that's another acrylic, the one of the barn with the American flag, and the barn without the American flag is just outside of Farmington. And I did the painting, and it sat there on my easel forever, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And then one day it just occurred to me that it just needed something on the barn. The barn wall was just so blank, so the American flag was suggested. With us being at war and flags flying all over, it just seemed the appropriate thing. So.
And I think I have seen those on barn, so that's probably why they thought of it.
Yeah, I think the idea came from driving through Tennessee once, and I saw a barn that the whole side was covered with an American flag, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Now our next piece is a gorgeous watercolor. I love the color of that green, that grass. It's just really vibrant.
That barn has since caved in on itself. It was a barn in just outside of Albia, and there's another watercolor here of the opposite side of that. And I went through there and did a number of sketches of it. And although the paintings are recent, the sketches were probably done 10 years ago.
Now, is this along Highway 34?
No, it's on a little back road.
Okay, because I just feel the area driving through there. It gets kind of hilly, and it just feels like it. You really captured that area.
Yeah.
And then we're going to switch over here from rural Iowa to a distant place.
Oh, that's Chicago. That's the Adler Planetarium out on its little peninsula. And we take students to Chicago once or twice a year, and sometimes we'll take some of our art students out on sketching trips, and that was based on a little sketch from one of those sketching tours, and that was actually done as a demonstration in a painting class. So. Really,
I'm just looking at it here, and I'm admiring the composition. How you have the circle, the light yellow area, and then the posts. It's just a very nice composition.
Well, I was trying to explain one point perspective, so I pretty well had to use the shadows on the posts to create that.
Wonderful. And once again, we're at Democratic Design, the Fairfield Art Association's first exhibit for the season with Mark McWhorter. He is showing his pottery and paintings. Another watercolor. This one is on 34. This is just get my directions right, west of the Blakesburg turnoff on 34. And it's a row of trees, and you could drive by it every day and never notice it. And I've just stopped once and sketched it, and over the years I've done it in different seasons. It looks like a mushroom hunting area to me.
Well, it could well be. I've never been in there to hunt for mushrooms.
Okay, now we're at another larger painting.
This one's called the Cove, and that's a cove on an alpine lake in the Wind River Mountains in Wyoming, and beautiful spot. Caught a trout right off that point.
Oh, we should have the fishermen here to look at that. That water is just gorgeous. Do you have a favorite medium?
Actually, no. I move around, and I've been switching from colored pencil to watercolor over the last few years, but I imagine if you catch me 10 years from now, I'll be doing something else, and watercolor will be a thought from the past. So I do tend to move around, although my clay work remains stable.
I do think, myself being an artist, that it keeps you fresh when you switch from one to the other. You just don't get stuck in a rut and one influences the other.
Oh, yes. And see, I don't really think of them as being that different. And you're probably the same way. But moving from a different medium, does keep you fresh. You have to rethink the way you do things. Mm-hmm. And that keeps you honest.
And then we come up on two, are those pencil or pen? No, they're pen and ink.
Pen and ink. They're pen and ink. And actually the first one is a pen sketch of the same scene as the previous acrylic, and then the second pen and ink is a small drawing of another piece that I think there's a watercolor here that's coming up that we'll be looking at that's based on that.
Okay. Now I love this one, this fish, and I'm not really close to examine it, but you've got kind of a collage effect.
Yes, that's part of a series of pieces that I've been working on that include a scene of the location and then an artifact, whether it's a close-up view of a plant or a fish or an animal, something like that. And then there's a map of the area that's included. I have always loved maps, and I've for years have tried to figure out ways to include maps in my work. So this is a great way. I get to draw maps. That's
bringing in your pen and ink, your fine detail work, along with the freedom of your painting. That's wonderful. And next to that one, we have another one that's very different.
That one is very different. It's very different from me, and it was actually a demonstration that was based on a assignment that I gave my watercolor class. So I pretty well had to do something to show them if I was going to have them do it. So I do like to practice what I preach. So
that's good to know.
That's a back alley in downtown Ottumwa. So it's a loading dock, and it's pretty literal. I made a few changes. I gave the door a number. I think that's about the only real change I made.
Yeah, it's confusing to look at because you just all of a sudden wonder, well, why is that door up there? So.
Loading dock.
Another painting.
This is in the Wind River Mountains, like one of the other acrylics. This is a view of a lake called Upper Ross Lake, probably one of the most beautiful lakes you'd ever go to. It's very difficult to get there, but it takes several days walking, and
several days.
Days and altitude. We had to climb about 5,000 feet to get there, so it's almost a mile high. Higher than the trailhead, I should say that.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm envious that you get to do this and take your materials and actually do artwork while you're there. And once again, we are at Democratic Design with the Fairfield Art Association's opening exhibit by Mark McWhorter, who is from Ottumwa, sharing his pottery and paintings. And we have two more that we're going to share with you. Another painting.
This is another painting. This is actually not in the Wind Rivers. It's in the Bighorn Mountains in the north central part of Wyoming. Beautiful chain of mountains. That was my first trip there. And we hiked up through this one stretch where there was a whole string of little lakes. Oh, they were just beautiful. So we had a great time.
That's the water once again, and the reflections are wonderful. And then you've got those mountains that are very sculptured. And we'll come down, and this one is another piece, and it's under glass. So sometimes we get a glare when we're taping. But describe this one for us.
I think that one's called Little River, and that's in the inland waterway between North and South Carolina. And one of the pen and inks is the preliminary sketch for that piece.
Okay. So we hope that you'll come and check out your wonderful pieces that you've shared with us. Thank you.
Oh, well, I appreciate being able to exhibit. So.
And you're close by, and do you have a gallery in your home?
No, but I tend to use the college studio, but I exhibit quite often in the area, and we usually have a faculty show in November. So, and then I show at a lot of the area art festivals as well.
Right. So thank you, Mark McWhorter, for sharing with the Fairfield Art Association for our exhibit for October. Joni McGinnis is co-president for the Fairfield Art Association, along with your co-partner,
Terry Klein, yes. And he's right now at the homecoming, but that's okay. We're going to do this interview without him. Next time he gets to do it.
Joni is our past president all by herself, too. And before that, treasurer, and she's on the Art Walk board, and she represents a lot of art in our community. So thank you, Joni.
Oh, you're welcome. I love it.
Let's talk about the Fairfield Art Association's 39th season, which is starting right now.
Yes. Well, we have some wonderful shows. I actually just met Mark. You've interviewed him earlier. He sounds like an amazing person. He was telling me about how he took used to be a church, a chapel at the Indian Hills College, and created a wonderful gallery there. He said they had stone walls, so it was somewhat of a challenge to hang artwork on it. So they gave him that challenge to try to.
It's wonderful.
And so he created some nice boxes on the walls, created long boxes with fabric carpeting over them that allow you to hang artwork. I know John Preston, who's a member of the Art Association's had a show there, and it just sounded very interesting, a really nice place, so I'd like to go there.
It is. I think I had a show there, it's been 10 years ago, and that was right fairly soon after they had gotten it finished. It's a wonderful addition. So you should... Ottumwa was very close.
Yes,
and
30 miles. And actually, amazingly, this opening, I had just gotten here. It was about 6 o'clock or so, and a couple came in from Iowa City. They loved his work, and they bought something. So before we had even opened up and had our cheese and crackers out, we were selling one of his works. So
yay!
It's just a test to how great his pottery and his paintings and things are.
It's also a test to show that artwork is getting to be well known and people are coming from all over.
It's amazing. In fact, this couple, not only did they like his work, they also wanted to buy some furniture out of Democratic Design, but since Deb was out of town, I gave them her card and said she'll be back tomorrow.
We should have just sold it for her.
So they want to buy some of her furniture, and they're from Iowa City, so I thought that was wonderful.
Oh, that's another thing. Yeah. All of this is really good for our community. So art is good for Fairfield.
Absolutely.
And along with that, we have a big season lined up. Don Kramer is our exhibition chairman, and he's got a lot of shows lined up, and I'm going to let you read them.
Okay. The next one in November, it's November 5th is the opening, is colored pencil, pen, and ink. And I can't pronounce his name, but I've met this gentleman. I think it's Miswa Fishwick from Oskaloosa. And I actually met him one day, and he had come up to Bill Teeple's studio when I happened to be doing my regular weekly class. And he said it was wonderful because he said in Oskaloosa they don't really have any place to show their work, and he was very excited about Fairfield. He then became a member of the Art Association and was looking forward to showing it in our... in one of our shows. So that'll be interesting. And I saw pictures of his work. It looks really nice.
And our shows, we have several places that we hold our shows until we get a permanent gallery in place of our own. And this show is being held at the Iowa State Bank, and that's the downtown location.
Right. And Dave Neff has been so generous to open up his lobby there at the Iowa State Bank, and he creates a nice atmosphere. He's very welcoming, and he makes popcorn. And so it's a nice, friendly place to come, and I think you'll enjoy that show. Then in December 3rd is the opening for the Young Artists, Fairfield Community School students, and it's at First National Bank, and it'll be in the meeting room where we normally have our holiday art fair. And we are going to miss it this year, that particular room, because Susan has decided to take a break, much needed rest from the Holiday Art Fair. So I hope we'll do it as soon as the Civic Center is built. We'll do a Holiday Art Fair again.
So this is a special announcement. There will not be a Holiday Art Fair this year.
Well, at least in the First National Bank.
Right. However, we have a group of people that possibly are working on something else that we can put together in its place.
Yes, and that may be a smaller version, but we really need to give Susan a break. She's done it for 25 years, and it's been a wonderful event, and I know people are going to miss it, but when we have it again, they'll be so grateful.
And change is good, so it'll be a good thing.
Yes.
The Young Artist exhibit is from the Fairfield School District's selection from the best of their best work that are shown in their springtime, and it's wonderful work by our students in the community schools.
Yes, and I've judged before for this, and I know it was very difficult to look because it seemed like every one of the children's work deserved to be shown.
Yes.
And so it's just always fun to go to see all their work, and then this particular is the best of the best, which is just, it sometimes amazes me these kids are in grade school. So very creative. Then in January 7th, in Caustic Painting by Catherine Downing from West Des Moines, and that'll be again here at Democratic Design.
And these shows are typically 2 weeks long, and they're free, open to the public, and start with an opening exhibit during the First Friday's Art Walk from 6:30 to 9:30.
Correct. And then in February 4th, we have Watercolors and Acrylics by Todd Smithhart from Ottumwa, and that again will be at Iowa State Bank downtown lobby. And then our final show will be March 4th, Paintings and Pieces of Mixed Media by Holly Kellogg from Ottumwa, and that will be held at Henderson's Frame and Gallery. And I just realized that's not our final show. Sorry. Actually, that's March. What am I thinking? And then April, we have April 1st will be Bent Thoughts. It's the title of this show. It's Metal Sculptures by Rod Mentor from Oskaloosa. And again, that's held at Iowa State Bank downtown lobby. Now, finally, then our end of the season show will be, and we always do this every year, Art Association membership show, May 6th at Henderson's Frame and Gallery. And it's all different pieces from Art Association members.
So that's an excuse for you to join the Fairfield Art Association and get busy painting, creating, so you can show in our membership show.
And every year it's a very exciting event. I know when I first joined the Art Association, I looked forward to that because there weren't a lot of galleries to show in, and in our town, and it was exciting and fun to be able to be a part of a group show. And if you're shy, you're not sure that you want people to see your work, this is a very friendly atmosphere. It's all levels. So even if you're a beginner or an advanced painter, you can join in on the membership show.
And the Fairfield Art Association is, like I said, starting its 39th season. It was formed in the spring of 1966 to foster art within our community, and we've been doing that all those years. We continue to do
Weren't
it.
you an original?
I was
founder?
not.
Oh,
I
well,
think
you were
I
too
took
young?
I took a class
Okay.
back then.
I didn't mean to say that, but I just know you've been doing it for so many years since you were young, like a teenager or in your 20s, right? Part of the Art Association, yeah.
So we have just sent out this brochure to a lot of people, and you'll find the brochure around town during the art walk and different places. And it lists our membership. And we have some original charter members that are listed on here. Dorothy Bell, Bob Glocky, Bob Tree.
Jack and Marty Taylor, Don and Lois Kramer, Benjamin and Peggy Rogers, Mark and Susan Schaefer, Caroline Dickey, Dr. Larry and Janet Nash, Robert Tree, Charles Wayne Carter. I think that's pretty much but that's amazing
for 39 years
Yes,
that they
they've
have
been
continued
part of
to
this.
support.
That's exactly. It's wonderful. Wonderful.
And we have probably close to 200 memberships, and it does support our projects and many things that we do. We have we're responsible for the sculpture in the park, the William Coopin Friend, and the mural at the pool, the sculpture at the Carnegie Building.
And we just recently donated $2,000 to the bridge expansion project, which tomorrow will be the ribbon cutting ceremony.
Yes.
There at the trail. The Jefferson County Trails Council has created this wonderful trail around Fairfield, and we contributed as the Art Association to the bridge to create and make it very artistic. Mark Schaefer and his class did part of it, and Judy Bales, a great artist, helped with the metal work and the interesting sides of the bridge. And then then Mark Schaefer's kids did the clay tiles on the floor.
So the Art Association does a lot for our community. It's fun. You can meet other people, experience being creative. Some of the things that we do through the year, the garden tour.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I was going to say also, just it's fun to join because you meet a lot of other artists. There's a cooking class coming up October 18th. That's another fun, creative thing to do. It's not necessarily the visual arts, but I know that every time we have one of these, we have more than people than we can possibly fit into the class because they just enjoy cooking. It's a fun thing.
So we will be taking names and numbers for that cooking class on October 18th, and you can call Joni or me or any Art Association board member.
Mm-hmm. And so not only do we do the visual arts with our shows, but we do things for the community. We have the garden tour every year. We have the holiday art fair. We have the cooking classes occasionally. I talked to John Preston recently, and he said he would be very interested in doing a workshop again in pastels this time, which is very exciting, in the spring, next spring. So that's a neat thing to look forward to.
So when you join, you get a monthly membership newsletter. It tells you about the exhibit coming up and the opening, invites you, any other information that comes up from month to month.
Right.
So I want to thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your support for the Fairfield Art Association's 39th year.
Yes.